I am in Madison, Indiana at the Schroeder Saddletree Factory Museum. This is a one-of-a-kind museum, as it is a perfectly preserved saddletree factory, the only remainder of a former major industry here in the storied town of Madison. Here at this late 1800s factory, Ben Schroeder and his family created saddle trees, which are the wood frames of saddles before the leather would be put over it at a saddlery. Ben Schroeder was a Prussian immigrant. He came to America in the late 1800s and opened the saddletree factory in this brick structure in the front, which he converted into his home in 1882, when he built two whole new structures behind it for the saddletree operation. During the late 19th century, saddletree production was big business here in Madison. There were 12 saddletree companies producing over 150,000 saddletrees annually, but of course with the advent of the automobile, the demand for saddletrees declined drastically, and the Schroeder family had to find some other things to produce to stay in business, as all the other saddletree companies here closed up. There's a photograph of Ben Schroeder. Again, this building was the Schroeder Home, and they recently restored and furnished the front parlor. It wasn't like this last time I was here. Ben Schroeder lived in here from when he converted it into a home in 1882 until he passed away in 1909. 4 of his 6 children vowed to stay in Madison and continue the business until the end, so the siblings lived here and operated the place until they all died. Joseph Schroeder was the last surviving sibling, and he passed away in 1972. By that point, all the other family-owned saddletree factories had died out, so this was the longest-lasting family-operated saddletree company in the United States. Here are some of the Schroeder saddletree designs. Those are the fully furnished products with leather on them. Here are some stencils that were used for the shipping labels on the saddle trees. From 1916 to 1919, they produced gloves here. That's a sewing machine used to make gloves. Throughout the 1920s, the Schroeders made lawn furniture. They did build those chairs. And this is a 1951 family photo with those pieces of furniture. Besides saddle trees, the other most profitable venture they went into was clothespin production. They made more than 1.8 million clothespins here in this factory. In the 1930s, they made some hames for horse collars. Here are the stages of production. Here are some saddletree parts. And I noticed this is on a Hershey cocoa barrel. After years of abandonment, Historic Madison Inc. fully restored this place, and it's wonderful. These photos show how the factory got into really bad shape before the restoration. Here are some tools from the blacksmith and assembly shop. An investor tried to persuade the Schroeders to produce that latter design. They decided against it. Some Schroeder virtues were use it up, wear it out, and make it do or do without. Now we're going to head into this part of the factory, which was the assembly shop and blacksmith shop. This is the inside of the assembly shop, where the Schroeders would take the individual wooden pieces of the saddletree and put it together. Now what's really amazing about this saddletree factory is that almost everything is original. When the last Schroeder died, this place was left completely intact, which is pretty rare as far as preserved historic buildings go. The Schroeders were extremely utilitarian. They kept and used everything until it was absolutely broken. They didn't like to spend money on new or updated things, so a lot of the furnishings, machines, and other pieces throughout the saddletree factory are very old. So here in the saddletree assembly shop, the Schroeders would work at the table on that side. Notice that the board is sagging right there. That was caused by one of them sitting there working over many decades, and they never bothered to replace it. They would hire some children to help in the assembly shop. That's right, some good old child labor. and they would work at this lowered table. Connected to the assembly shop is the blacksmith shop. They would produce most of their own metal parts in here. Most everything is original. Alright, now we're gonna head into the machine shop. On the back side of the machine shop, there is a sawmill, where the Schroeders would cut their own wood using that massive saw blade. The Schroeders worked here for about 94 years. They produced about 500,000 saddletrees and a lot of other products during that time. Alright, this is the inside of the Schroeder Saddletree machine shop. A true time capsule. This is so awesome. All the machines in here were used by the Schroeders. They were left in place, so this essentially looks exactly the same as it did decades ago, as the family continued to run this little shop despite the tides of modernity. As mentioned, they were pretty successful at making clothespins. Again, they produced nearly 2 million in this room, so a lot of the machines have to do with that. Like this one, it's a clothespin lathe. Here's another contraption to cut the clothespins. This is the engine room. They added this on in the 1920s and 30s. It houses 2 big steam engines, 2 electric generators, and an oil engine. So all this powered the machines in the shop. This is the Prim oil engine. They bought it in 1943, and it ran the sawmill. They would have to start it by spinning the flywheels by hand. This is the furnace room. They did make it brick and somewhat separated from the rest of the structure. Probably a good idea. Despite the dusty look of it, a lot of the machines here are still in working order. When they first started doing tours of the Saddletree Factory many years ago, some guys were approved to operate the machinery for demonstrations. Unfortunately, a lot of those guys are gone now, so they very sparsely run them anymore. This machine shop is absolutely incredible. The place genuinely feels stuck in a different time. So this is an amazing place. While places like the Lanier Mansion and Clifty Falls State Park may be more well known, the Saddletree Factory is a completely unique place and a must-see when visiting Madison. Right by the Saddletree Factory is Georgetown, a neighborhood that was settled by free blacks in the 1820s. Being pretty close to the Ohio River, there was an influx of escaped slaves heading north, so this was an Underground Railroad stop. This is the old African Methodist Episcopal Church built in 1850. Now I'm going to be crossing the Milton-Madison Bridge into Milton, Kentucky. I hope you enjoyed the Saddletree Factory. Again, it's fantastic and I would highly recommend it. It is operated by Historic Madison Inc. They also run tours of other great Madison landmarks, like the Francis Costigan House, the Jeremiah Sullivan House, Dr. Hutchings' office, and other locations. I do have videos on those spots linked in the description. I also have videos on other museums, historic sites, roadside attractions, and more. Additionally, I would appreciate it if you like this video, share it, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.